Welcome to the CoLab podcast series, brought to you by Cresco, a law firm with an exclusive focus on entrepreneurship. In this podcast, we take you behind the scenes with some of today's most driven entrepreneurs, industry leaders, and innovators. We hope these conversations will not only inform but also inspire you on your own journey in business. Let's dive into today's episode.
So, welcome to CoLab by Cresco. My name is Glenn L'hoëst. I'm a partner at Cresco, specialized in assisting entrepreneurs in their basically entire growth cycle. So, doing VC investment rounds, M&A deals, and other types of strategic transactions with private equity investors or corporate investors or buyers, and assisting them from an innovation and technological perspective as well. Today, I have the honor of inviting and hosting Dewi van de Vyver in our podcast. And apologies for not starting with an extensive overview of your impressive CV, but our first question is always, can you please introduce yourself and the mission of your current venture, your company?
So yes, good morning and thank you for the invitation. I'm Dewi van de Vyver and today I'm CEO of EFFEX. EFFEX is a spin-off from the KU Leuven and we're specialized actually in software for experimental planning. Experimental planning is specifically used in industry like pharmaceutical or chemicals, when you need to find out how you have to do product or process optimization. You're not always aware of all the different interactions between the different ingredients or outside influences. And so in order to actually find out, you want to do an experimental plan that really gathers data in a structured way. And that's actually what we take care of. We help companies to find the best experimental plan so that they can gather as much data as needed in the least possible time and for the least possible budget. So that's what we do today. As for me, I was already an entrepreneur before, had co-founded Flowpilots, and had that company for 12 years, of which I was CEO 4 years. And always been in tech and have also been awarded as ICT Woman of the Year.
Very impressive. So that's what you call the design of experiments, basically. Is that linked to particular sectors, or is it just a software application platform which is usable for every type of customer?
Well, the statistical methodology of design of experiments is industry agnostic. But of course, it's mainly used in those industries where they have trouble where they have to do real specific data acquisition. And so therefore you will probably see it more in companies like pharmaceutical and chemicals, or for instance in automotive as well, for fuel optimization, oil optimization, or even for the polyurethane of which your dashboard is made. It has to be strong, but it has to be flexible as well. It cannot not stick, but it has to be bendable, and all these kind of attributes that sometimes products have. You have to try to find the right chemicals and ingredients to make sure that you have those product attributes. And to find that, you need real extreme experimental planning, and that's actually where it is used the most. Also, by the way, in food, maybe that's cooler to know, but like Pringle chips or your sandwiches that are made, they have to know the exact amount of flour, the exact amount of yeast and water and everything to have the same sandwich every time over and over again, even though the raw materials vary, because one harvest is not the same as the other harvest. And for finding every time the right recipe, you also have to do experiments, and their experimental planning or design of experiments is used a lot as well.
Interesting. So you already mentioned a couple of use cases. Are there some other ones which you could list for the audience, for our listeners, which are also mainly entrepreneurs in fast-growing companies? So are there interesting use cases you could add?
Absolutely. And I think it's also very nice, more as something to know, that actually originated from agriculture. Because if you have land, you want to optimize your land as much as possible to know like what crops grow the best in what kind of parts. And so there's where design of experiments actually originated, to find out how could they like test which kind of crops would grow in the best kind of soils. And so that's where it started. And I think always the Pringles chips case is the one that speaks the most to everybody's imagination, because everybody eats chips. But actually, it's not made of potatoes. It's made of flour, of corn, of whatever ingredient that is at that point the cheapest on the world market. And Pringles wanted to, on the one hand, know like could they do the most efficient experiments to have always the same consistency in product, but at the same time lower the amount of fat and lower the amount of salt without losing taste. And so that's what they use design of experiments for, and our designs to test these kind of scenarios to find out what was always, again, the best recipe for having the same curvature, the same crispiness, the same taste for the chips. So that's, I think those kind of things are really cool. But maybe like one more case just to show the vastness of the methodology, how it is used. I think everybody knows those really nice big New Holland tractors that ride on fields that have to cut corn and stuff. Yeah. And so, one see those driving and does not think about how they actually have to do it. But the corn sometimes is wet and sometimes it's dry. And the way it has to be cut when it's dry or wet is totally different. And so for putting, making the installation of all the rotors to actually cut it, you could do it one factor at a time, mainly like change one every time again, and then find out which one is the one that cuts the best. But that means that, you waste a lot of time, and then still you actually do not know how the interaction is between different stages in such a tractor. And so they use design of experiments to actually do an experimental plan, cut like certain parts of field, and to see what has to be the way it has to be installed in order for them to cut the corn the best way possible at the same height, and that it is cut and not torn, and how it's mixed and mingled and crushed and everything. So the methodology, every time you have a process or a product that needs to be optimized, of which you have a lot of factors that interact with each other and you have no idea how they influence each other, the best way forward is actually to use design of experiments. So for entrepreneurs, whether you're in biotech, in pharmaceuticals, more in chemicals, or like even, really like process optimization and stuff, this is like a methodology you should definitely check out.
Okay, very interesting. So it's a software platform, always using the experiment's own data, never adding an additional layer or group of data on top of it?
Not at the moment, but that's actually, we're raising money again. Okay. and that's actually the business plan for which I'm raising money is actually to use indeed prior data of the customer to already help define certain parameters or factors that we should not take into account anymore because we have enough information already, and to design the experiments even better, and also again with lesser runs in order for them to gain and save even more money.
Oh, okay, very interesting. Taking a step back, in the introduction, you already briefly explained that you founded Flowpilots first. You have been a CEO of the company, sold the company afterwards. After that time with Flowpilots, you took some time off. What did you do during that period, and what inspired you to step back into the entrepreneurial world as a co-founder of this company, EFFEX?
Well, I did, on the one hand, took a break, but on the other hand, I have to be honest that, I met already the team of EFFEX when I was already in the in-between time. So the thing was that but I did want to find out for myself what made me tick. Because if you have had a company for 12 years, just focused on that company and focused on, only that, and you kind of sometimes lose sight of what is the thing that actually makes you wake up every morning. And so, there's like a difference in waking up out of like responsibility because it's something, you have that company. So you want to have your employees to have it good. You want to also, with the shareholders, make sure that they're happy. You also want to make sure that your customers are happy. That's like one way to wake up. But there's also the second part is that you just want to like get on with it. Today, like this morning, I was contemplating whether I should wake up at I kind of woke up like around 5, and I had like a zillion of ideas, and I was like, I should wake up and like go downstairs and start writing it down because this is so good. I really need to like put this in my pitch and business plan. And that's the other way to wake up. And so after Flowpilots, I still had this, everybody has this probably like when you get out of high school, you have an idea of what you should have been doing. And for me, it was always like, I should have actually started in one of the big fours. And that was like the thing. But at the time, my university degree was not so very popular in the big four. They were still focused on just like having people that have an economics degree. And so I thought like, this is the time. I shall go and go to those big fours. And then everybody was like, but you're going to die inside there. You're an entrepreneur. You have never listened to any boss. You have never have to answer to any HR department. And now you would go like into this like real corporate organization. And so I went to talk to a lot of people, went to see like whether I would fit in another company and stuff like that. And then you have to like, at a certain point, be honest with yourself and find out that it was probably going to be very difficult to work for somebody instead of working for something. And that's what I did in that in-between time between actually like that year that was from leaving Flowpilots and starting up EFFEX. And in the meantime, I got acquainted more with the team, got acquainted more with the methodology, and then find out that at a certain point I was just waking up and calling now my co-founder and saying, I thought about this and this, and what do you think of that? And if we would do it like that, and if we would pitch it like that, and then, that's what's making you tick. Yeah. And then you just, then it's obvious, it's, and I think that people, if they're wondering or searching for their passion, I think that's a very good exercise is what pops into your mind in your shower, what pops into your mind if you wake up in the morning, what's keeping you at breakfast, and does it make your heart tick harder or not? And if not, then you have to like maybe think twice. But if if it makes you joyful and you want to start working, then you're having the right job.
No, definitely. So, but in practice, we don't have many female founders, at least not enough. So if you always had this entrepreneurial spirit and like this desire to create stuff and to be your own boss basically, but you still, why did, and because I read on your website that you studied a master's in communication science, why did you then make this choice to study in this field and not, for instance, in a more IT related or industrial sciences?
Because and then I'm going to reveal my age. It was funny because I saw a meme the other day that said like, if you don't want to be stiff the next day after a cycling trip, your date of birth should not start with 19. And I thought it was really funny because but in the 1999, I started studying in 1998, and it was not a good time for women in technological courses. I would have been the only woman, and I had the unfortunate surrounding I had a fortunate surrounding of a lot of very, very intelligent women that started a year before me in engineering classes and mathematics, and who came home every week crying of the blatant sexism, misogyny, remarks like, I'm not going to invest time in answering your question. You can open your legs and ask it to your colleague that's sitting next to you. Even today, there are still professors encouraging boys to, when they have to start study groups, to not incorporate girls because it would diminish their chances of raising money when they would spin out, or if their work would become something and they would make a startup. Or if they would have a girl inside their study group, they would use them as a secretary. And we're talking 2024. So why did I start communication science? Because it was at that time for me, the course that was the university degree that was the closest to the thing I wanted to do most. And because we still had a lot of courses on information technology, impact on technology on society, because that was the part that interested me then the most. It's like, indeed, how would SMS, Archie chat and stuff like that, and now today Facebook and everything, like, have an impact on language, on democracy, on ethics, on values. And I still, although I found it very, I still am sad that I had to choose actually something that was more female friendly. Or I say had to, but did choose something more female friendly, because I was at that point, I already had 2 years in school that were also very tough because I did like the 8 hours of mathematics, and it was also hell. And so not the mathematics, but the environment in which I had to study. So I was like, okay, let's do this. And in the end, what we're seeing today with mass media and like the tunnel visions and stuff like that, I'm very happy that I studied the things that I studied, because we already actually foresaw that coming, like in the 2000s. So But that's why I didn't do any engineering, and that's why we're still today struggling with having more female founders. It's because there are barriers that men don't see, men don't want to see, men ignore to see. And although I try to be very explicit and advocate for it, it's still a difficulty a lot of the times to make it land on the other ends.
No, but I think you're and we see the same thing within our group of clients. Let's say there's a vast minority, so very few actual female founders, which is, of course, it's a pity. It's a pity. But you're very vocal. You're a very vocal supporter of having more like female entrepreneurs, female presence in STEM, female presence in IT. What are your own initiatives? Because you're a role model right now. You're an advocate right now for that movement, for those principles. What do you do? What do you try to do to the sector, to improve the sector, to improve this principle?
Well, on the one hand, I have an own initiative, which is the ADA Talks, together with Valerie and Nele, where we invite female entrepreneurs, or always in tech, or female like managers, big corporates, and we mix and match them with other women that want to grow in that sector, to show them like what is the road forward, how can you achieve that goal, and because the network event is really small scale, you really get like true connections. And I think that's women in the past often tended to forget to network, and the network is not something that you build from day one. It's something that you build over time. You have to meet people on various occasions have conversations with each other, so that at a certain point in time, you have that network that you can like ask, and then they can help you. And it's not because you meet somebody today that you know what they are going to be useful or in the future. It's more like make sure that you know a lot of people, so that when you grow yourself or continue in your life, you have these people around you that can help you with information.
It starts very early. You have to start very early.
And it's something that's due to the way that networks and organizations are built. It's easier often for men than for women. Like for instance, with Volta Ventures, they have like the Volta di Giro. And I was in the beginning appalled because it's cycling. And although indeed there are more women cycling today, it's still something that's mainly done by men. And I was like, seriously? I mean, I cannot even participate. And so I actually bought a bike and I started cycling because I was like, okay, I really want to be there, because in those conversations, information is being exchanged. It's information about where to find money, how to run your business, where do you find talent. All those things are exchanged in those kind of network events. And it's the same, like at a certain point, I had like this lawyer and they went hunting. Like, not hunting, but in Dutch, it's kleiduifschieten. And I was like, I want to do that as well. And it's like, it's not for women. I was like, said who, where, when in history that I would be less equipped to handle a gun than you. I mean, invite me. And you saw that he even did not even thought of the fact that he could have also invited the women in the group. And it's that, like, women have less of these kind of events for which they are invited, in which they actually meet other people, and in which they actually have the opportunity to exchange information. And that's why I started that own networking event, because that's what we actually exchange there. That kind of information that you need as an entrepreneur to know, like, how do you continue into your company or into your career. The other thing is that indeed I'm a member of the STEM platform under the presidency of François Chambard, where we try to advocate to how we try to give advice to the government on how to incorporate STEM in schools. The latest thing that we done was actually a memorandum to see, like, how could you incorporate STEM from the very early start in school, like 2.5 years, where we already try to encourage schools, instead of give kids what we call purpose play things to play with that already have a purpose, to go for purposeless play. And then we're looking at blocks, at building towers, stuff like that. And often it's given to boys, but it should also be very, consciously given to girls as well. Because the concept of 3D thinking is something that you learn. It's not something that you have. And so to be able to look at an object and see that it has different sides and stuff like that is, for instance, actually a computational skill. And in order to be able to learn that, you have to actually start very early. So we believe really that if you start in the years of between 2.5 and 12, and you give those skills to boys, but in particular girls, then after that age, the skill set stays, because you always lose a little bit the adolescence when puberty hits. You just have to go through it. But then when puberty is through, like 17, 18, then all those skills that you have built in the beginning will emerge again. And then as a last thing is to be present in certain boards, like for instance at the Thomas More School, where again we look at how can we change the language, for instance, of the courses, make it more in another language so that it's inclusive, give advice also to HR companies to how do they have to make vacancies for technological profiles, instead of giving a list saying like, okay, we just want you to be talented in this, because women if you have to check boxes, we will. If we do not can check all the boxes, we will think we're not competent enough. Whilst if you ask for, do you have these talents, we're more inclined to say yes, we have these talents, like organizational talents, or making sure that the team is well organized or something. So those kind of things are more important than to emphasize in a vacancy than actually pure skill set. And so that's the way I try to, I'm sorry for the long answer, be an advocate for more female entrepreneurs and more girls in tech.
No, but it's very nice to hear those initiatives, to see what you're doing, and when doing some investigations prior to prepare for this podcast, also noticed that you often focus very much on certain ethics, on certain values, transparency, honesty. You also mentioned that you don't really like to work in an hierarchical organization with a boss, with top-down, approach. I also noticed that you're very vocal on these principles. How do you also try to incorporate these in your own ventures? For instance, at EFFEX, do you manage to do so? How do you do so?
Yes, of course. It's intrinsic. I think is it an English word? Yeah, intrinsic. Who I am. It would be rather strange to advocate for those things and not practice what you preach. That does not mean that even for me sometimes it's difficult. But I do believe in trying to be as open as possible, also to the team. Like, where are we, for instance, in runway? Where are we in sales? What is happening in the, like, do we feel traction or not? And I think it's by being open about it, you create trust and also confidence. And I'm actually searching for a word, like, everybody can be at ease because they know what's happening. And I see in some startups, like these founders, because they are not transparent towards the team about, for instance, where are we in raising money, or where are we in the runway, or where are we in our sales funnel and stuff like that, create unwillingly sometimes an atmosphere of fear. Like, what's going to happen? We don't know. Are we still having our jobs tomorrow or not? Stuff like that. And, that's not necessary. Like, being transparent about how things are going helps your team to also decide for themselves whether they want to stick around and work their asses off, even though they know that maybe it won't work or won't work out. Because then if you have to say, yeah, sorry, it didn't work out, they're not, like, stunned or surprised. They know that then everybody has done whatever they could to still achieve that goal. Instead of you saying, like, okay, sorry, I have a meeting, we have to let all of you go, then they're not mentally prepared. So that's one thing. And about ethics, it's about when you have an issue with somebody, to not talk about behind their back, but to try to go to them, tell them in a respectful way always that where you're having problems or where you are struggling with, and ask them to help you to improve the relationship. And as a last one, also to build the team. And that's not always that easy, especially like in a startup like ours, with, although most of us live in Leuven, I'm the one that lives the farthest. I'm not always there, so that's not always very easy. And also with a very different kind of role within the company than the others. But still, we try to have our drinks, have our team building. We also already did like this session on how to communicate with each other with a very interesting company, Bien, who focus on neurodiverse teams like ours. And those are the things that help again in showing towards each other that we see each other as equal, as grown-ups, and respect each other. And that's why I sometimes do not want to work in hierarchical companies, because I often find that although they do not, and it's not in all teams or every, but sometimes there is always a matter of fear involved. Fear of somebody saying like, if you do not do what you do, I will fire you. If you do not do what you do, I will make your life like suck as hell. And I always find it so stunning how people can just screw each other up in such a bad way. And I'm so happy that therefore I have my own company and my own boss, and that I can build a team again, and that I can make sure that that is not happening within our company.
Oh, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
But taking a step back and going again, or discussing again a bit more on the business side of your new venture. So as many of our listeners are scale-up startup entrepreneurs trying to scale their businesses, can you describe the process EFFEX uses to ensure that its solutions are both scalable and adaptable across different industries?
First to listen to what our customers actually need and want, and to really understand how they use it. And I have to be honest, that has been really a tremendous job the last year, because as we are a spin-off of the KU Leuven, it was clear that users would use it because we already had traction when we were at the university. But how to indeed like scale it, we had to go ask customers like, how does this like is used on a broader scale inside their company, and finding out how companies are organized around statistics and design of experiments, how they do their experimental planning, who is involved in a project with experimental planning. You know, it's not only the statisticians, it's also like the subject knowledge expert, it's also the scientists, engineers, sometimes people from the factory floor and stuff. So you have a lot of personas there as well. And so making sure that we truly understood how they were using it, and also what was the gaps that were in competing products, is one way to ensure that what we have today is enough to, entice the industry, but not over-engineered neither. Because that's always also a tricky part.
It's always the difficult balance between the content, the scientific
and
content.
And I know that if my colleagues would listen to this podcast, they will be happy that I mention it. But one of the things that happened throughout the year was that I did change priorities a couple of times due to that fact, because I listened to the customers, and then we went to a lot of conferences and fairs, talked to even more potential customers and leads. And every time, of course, you learn so much. And although we try to, minimize the changes, I did a couple of times pulled the strings and said like, okay, no, we're going to change direction or change the interface or change the priorities, because, you know, that feature is something nobody will use. And actually that is what we have to invest in. So that's one way of ensuring, scalability, and also, trying to find that product market fit. And I do believe that that is one of the most difficult parts. And it's still something I'm on a daily basis working on, is to be very strict upon yourself and not to assume that that there is something that customers need, but to know that customers need it. And what you see in a lot of software programs, like for instance, we're trying out now this kind of new AI program to like transcript your meetings. And I look at that program and I'm like, I know that 70% of the features that are in that program I will never use. And then I'm wondering, like, how did the process of development went? Because this is definitely somebody that said, oh, this would be a nice feature. Oh, yeah, that's cool. And the dev team would be like, yeah, I like to develop this as well. And then just get started instead of asking customers, like, would you actually use it? For who would use it? What kind of size of companies would you use it? And that's the kind of questions we ask ourselves constantly.
Is it also an advice you would give to other tech entrepreneurs looking to bridge that gap between the technical expertise and the technical team on the one side and the business team? Or would you have other advice as well?
No, I think that... and I understand that not everybody in the tech team is always interested in the business part. And so what we did was we got in touch with the people from Centigrade, and we have a project manager from them. And he actually does that translation now from the business side to the dev team on what it means in the technical side. That does not mean that I do not talk to the tech team. That's not the case. But the fact is that due to the fact I have more roles than just being there as product owner, there has to be somebody that constantly guards the business side as well of the technical feature. And so that's what he does is really like talks to me truly and profoundly understands why I believe that a feature, for instance, needs to be developed, and makes that translation on a daily basis towards the team. So even if I'm not there, he's the one that says, like, if the team again would say, like, but do we really need it? That can say, like, yes, because remember, like, we talked to those and those customers and they work like this and this and this. So when they have that feature, they can integrate it into their normal flow of working. And they are, right, indeed. You know, he's just making sure that the team actually, when they tend to forget sometimes due to the fact that they have other responsibilities, what was the reason why we were developing this, that he safeguards that part.
Was this one of the lessons you learned from Flowpilots?
Yeah,
then,
absolutely. Or? Yes, absolutely. It's but with Flowpilots, it was even like even different, because actually we were, as Flowpilots, the ones that asked those questions to the customer. Yeah. Because often the customer would come and he said, our first, I think, baseline was we need a mobile, we need an app, is not a mobile strategy. Because often customers would come to us and say, yeah, we need an app. Okay, good. Who's going to use it? We don't know. For what are they going to use it? We don't know. How is it going to improve the life of your customers? We don't know. How are they going to use it throughout the day? And in what kind of flow? When do they have to think about using that mobile application? We don't know. Okay, but we will make you an offer, 100K. Is it okay? Yeah, okay, let's make an app. And that's not what we did. We always asked those questions. And when we found out that customers could not answer to those questions, we either proposed, of course, to do it for them, or we decided not to do it. Because we knew in advance that if we would build something based on a hunch from one manager that needed to score with somebody, that in the end, they would complain, would not be happy, would start like nagging about the invoices and stuff like that. Because of course, it wouldn't solve what they were actually thinking that it would solve, because nobody actually contemplated on what it needed to solve. And so, at Flowpilots, we were we were the ones that posed that questions. And now within, of course, a product company, it's a little bit different. You have to be the one that asks it to yourself. And I understand it. Sometimes, like, you can wake up in the morning and think, if we develop this, only this, then they will buy it. Or this, this is the last one, then they will buy it. That's not how it works. If you don't ask, if you don't safeguard like why you're building it and how they're going to use it and why they're going to use it, then you just are burning a lot of money.
And how do you approach this then in practice? Do you go and talk to existing customers, or do you go to new ones and ask what you can do for them, or add to your existing product? Both.
Yeah, everyone. And even go to also to academics, that also do consultancy, that work with companies. Like everyone that can give me information. And to be honest, sometimes I do get the answer. We will never use your product. Yeah, ouch, that hurts. Yeah, because in our flow we do it this and this way, and it's not possible to integrate your product in our software or in our flow as it works today. Okay, and then I go thinking like, okay, then how would you use it? Would you use it as an API? Would you use it as an engine? Would you use it like this? You try to go and find out like how would it then work? And is that a large enough market? If we fix that, would it also be sellable to party B, C, D, and E? And that's how you have to, like, I think about it.
I think it's a great idea. But do you think that the mere fact that many entrepreneurs, that they mainly focus on the product and think like, this is a nice feature and we will sell tons of stuff by doing this, and not actually talk to the customers as you do and as you would propose to do you think this is linked to the fact that there is more and more capital available in the market and people raise funds and then can start using those funds as they please? Or is it how come, what's the reason for this evolution?
Well, what I think is just sometimes the ego, and that says like, I know best.
Okay.
And you have to be humble to understand that you do not know best. And even for emerging technologies, of which you will get a lot of nays before you get a yay, mm-hmm. Even there you have to be humble, because you have to understand that if you will push your technology before the market is ready and before you explained how they have to use it and understood how they could use it and how it's going to improve their business and how it is going to help them, and you're not able to make that translation, it just won't happen. So, and some things are, of course, obvious, but you would never have had the possibility of having an AI assistant to make your meeting notes if we would not have meetings online that you can transcript, and we would not have had first then the evolution of people indeed doing online meetings, and sometimes you also have to see like where are you in the technology chain and understand what needs to happen before your technology also can be adopted. And so I think that the reason why we still see a lot of startups just start and then raise money on a good idea and then struggle tremendously and have to pivot a couple of times is, of course, because they have to try and find that product market fit, but often because they started building something and then only started talking to customers. And with EFFEX, we already built a part and then started talking to customers. And I'm very happy that we didn't build more, because what came out of the customers has been very important to change the way the software product works and is going to work today. But it's a matter of being humble and understanding that no, you do not know best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very important lesson.
Even if you know best in the part that's what we are offering, I know that we know best in the design part, like how you have to do that statistic methodology. We do not know best how to actually use it within an actual company. And for that, you have to be, again, open, humble, ask questions. And I think that's the most important part that sometimes is forgotten.
Okay. Going back a bit to your more, let's say, personal life. So because we discussed your ventures, the fact that you founded a couple of companies. So as a leader or entrepreneur, how do you maintain a healthy balance between both professionally and personally to achieve sustainable success on a long term?
I would want to say that I have always been able to do that, but that's not the case. How do you keep a healthy balance? The question is it balance? You know, I think it's about knowing who you are and being true to yourself.
That balance is different for everyone.
Yeah, the question that it's the same again with that waking up in the morning. You know, if it doesn't cost you effort to wake up and to start your day, and when you feel like you're really hitting something and it gives you energy, then you're on the right track. If you wake up and you think this is not working for me, then the question is, how will I get energy for maybe sometimes do the things you need to do? And I think with falling and standing up again, I have learned to take care of myself. And sometimes that means that I will have days where I work from morning to late evenings. And sometimes I will just do an easy 8-hour day and make sure I will have sports and friends and fill it with things that really make me happy. And so it's choosing and feeling on a constant basis. And I think if people have the feeling that they're constantly overworked, too busy, never finding peace and calm, then you really have to look at your agenda and see how many things are in your agenda that make you happy. And if those are not existing, then that's I think something you have to really make it some more effort to help it. But I do a lot of things. I besides the and with EFFEX, not everything that I have to do I like. There are a lot of stuff that sometimes I'm behind my computer. I'm seriously think is this where I want to spend my life with? Am I going to grow old like this? No fucking way. I'm sorry. But and then there's other days that I'm this is it. You're seeing it, you're feeling it and finding it. So, that has to be in balance. Those days where you think seriously, or that meme, oh my God, what a rough week. And that the other one says it's only Wednesday. And sometimes I'm I know that feeling. So, but we all have that feeling.
We all do.
Yeah. And then, but if there is a lot of fun in your agenda, on the other hand, you have to, that's where the balance has to be. So, and again, it's not easy. I also sometimes still go over boundaries or forget to really listen. But then, that's the benefit of really knowing yourself and have taken the time or have been forced to get to know myself, that I know that my body will tell me when it says it's enough.
Yeah. Very important lesson as well.
Yeah.
So to conclude, we have one final question which we ask to every guest in our podcast. So at Cresco, we deeply value any type of collaboration. So we love to ask all our guests, if you could partner with any company or individual in the world, who would that be and why?
Well, I thought, but because you gave me the question before, and so I really had to think about that. And I was first thinking really big, would I want to work together with Obama or Michelle Obama, and would I want to work with Christine Lagarde or something, to learn from them. And then I realized that the most important thing that I've learned over the years is that I have gathered an amazing group of people around me, and I have in my head a dream team of people that, and the fact that they're not in my company yet is just because, sometimes resources are also limited. But I have a dream team of people that come from, different companies that I've met throughout the years, that I've met at Flowpilots and stuff, that if I would be able to put them all together and find a common purpose, that would be my party to work with. And it's from, I'm happy, like there's Tara, who is my marketing manager today. I would really love to work with Julie Scherpenzeel, who was ICT young lady together with me when I was ICT woman, who I really like her energy and her, and the joy that she always gives and brings. The HR manager that helped us at Flowpilots, which really one of the I think the most amazing people to help really create teams and support them. Also today within EFFEX, I had the opportunity through my network to found also the team. Our UI UX designer, he's one. I would say Duracell rabbit, but he is so genius in what he designs and stuff. And of course, I like my co-founder and everybody, but they have their specific kind of qualities, but the others, they fill in that team that you need to support those people. And so, sometimes I dream of gathering them all again. And then having them work for me, and that would be so awesome. Work for me, work together. So yes, that was, it's not really like a person or a company, but it's a bunch of people, and I've forgotten many, many more, whom I really love and value and respect, and really, feel that when I see them in their jobs and companies, what they manage to achieve, that I think okay, that would be so awesome if I could use your talent and put that together with the talent of that other person. That would really give fireworks, Yeah. So,
okay. Great. So your badge of potential co-founders for the future is still large enough.
Yes, indeed. And it would be awesome if they would all be there, I think it would be a really cool company to work in.
Great. Okay. Then I would just like to thank you for your presence, for your interesting answers, and I hope the listeners also liked it. So thank you.
Thank you so much.